Nice day today.
Oh, shit,
Was that Alan?
Alan! Al! Alan!
Yeah, I don't think you can hear me, you know. Yeah.
Alan! 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 Al! Alan! 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 Alan!
Oh, so that's not Alan. Steve, that's Steve.
Steve! 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 Steve!
Oh, no, that's not Steve, that is Alan.
Alan! Alan! Al! Alan! 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 What?
Then all the animals wade in and gorge themselves on the rotting fruit. It starts fermenting in their tummies and turns into a very potent brew. So on the way home, things start happening to them.
Can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. I told you. Can't touch this. Too hype. Can't touch this. Yeah, we out of here. You can't touch this.
The traits that make up an animal's morphology and physiology are often heritable, so we generally talk about selection acting on those traits. But as natural selection hones these traits, it's really selecting their associated behaviors. It's the use of the trait, using wings and feathers to escape predators or using a long neck to reach leaves, that provides the evolutionary advantage. Still, that doesn't mean that all behavior is coded in an animal's genes. Some behaviors are learned, and even for animals that learn how to do things, natural selection has favored brain structures that are capable of learning. So one way or another, most behaviors have some genetic underpinning, and we call those behaviors adaptive. Problem is, it's not always obvious what the evolutionary advantages are for some of the nutty things that animals do, like why does a snapping turtle always stick out its tongue? How does a tiny Siberian hamster find its mate miles across the unforgiving tundra? Why does a bowerbird collect piles of garbage? To answer questions like those, we have to figure out 1, what stimulus causes these behaviors, and 2, what functions the behaviors serve. To do this, I'm going to need the help of one of the first animal behavior scientists ever, or ethologists, Nico Tinbergen. Tinbergen developed a set of 4 questions aimed at understanding animal behavior. The questions focus on how a behavior occurs and why natural selection has favored this particular behavior. Determining how a behavior occurs actually involves 2 questions. 1, what stimulus causes it? And 2, what does the animal's body do in response to that stimulus? These are the causes that are closest to the specific behavior that we're looking at, so they're called the proximate causes. In the case of the male Siberian hamster, the stimulus is a delicious smelling pheromone that the sexy female hamster releases when she's ready to mate. The male hamster's response, of course, is to scuttle surprisingly quickly over several miles if necessary to find and mate with her. So, the proximate cause of this behavior was that the girl hamster signaled that she was ready to knock boots, and the male ran like crazy to get to the the boot knockin'. Asking the more complex question of why natural selection has favored this behavior requires asking two more questions. One, what about this behavior helps the animals survive and or reproduce? And two, what is the evolutionary history of this behavior? These, as you can tell, are bigger picture questions, and they show us the ultimate causes of the behavior. The answer to the first question, of course, is that the ability of a male hamster to detect and respond to the pheromones of an ovulating female is directly linked to his reproductive success. As for the second question, you can also see that male hamsters with superior pheromone detectors will be able to find females more successfully than other male hamsters, and thereby produce more offspring. So, natural selection has honed this particular physical ability and behavior over generations of hamsters.